Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Trail and Back again. I am out on a winter, windy day. Hopefully you can see the pines moving up in the sky there. This was a great, perfect day to come out on a day hike and show you 4 or 5 pieces of winter gear that make days like this perfect on the trail. Now the weather today, it's like 33 degrees, 32, but the wind is really picking up. We have a few inches of snow in Michigan here, and the trails that are more highly trafficked have been packed down and are very icy, and they're gonna get really bad today. So, because we've got lots of snow coming, lots of wind, so it's not gonna be super cold except for the wind. And so you're not decked out in like kind of that full winter gear because it's not 5 degrees or 10 degrees, but it's right around that freezing mark. And so while you're hiking, if you have too many layers on, it gets bloody hot. But at the same time, the snow and the conditions they're cold and they're wet. So those are the 4 pieces of gear that I want to cover in this video. It might be 5, I can't remember, but I think it's 5. But let's go talk about them. Let's go have a seat and I'll show you what I'm talking about. The first piece of gear that I want to talk about today is when it's wet and snowy, or just cold and snowy in general, take your rain pants with you, because those are perfect for instances like this. If you're just going to stop for a few minutes, you can throw those rain pants on. Now I suppose it's just as fast to take a chair out, but rain pants go on and off real easy. Or when you're at camp and you need to process wood, or you need to be on your knees for some reason, adjusting something, putting stakes in the ground, whatever, put those rain pants on. You don't have to worry about in my case, my smart wool base layer to get soaked, or for hiking pants that aren't waterproof to get soaked, therefore cold later on. Throw those rain pants on when you're doing that kind of work, and you'll stay dry and you'll stay warm. Before I sit down, let's just talk quickly about footwear though. I try to hold back from wearing boots as long as possible. So when it's this kind of weather, if there's just a few inches of snow on the trail and it's not going to become, 10 degrees, 15 degrees outside, I'm going to wear my hiking shoes, my trail runners, as long as possible. But there's a couple dangers with that. One, it does get really slippery on the trail. Boots help that a little bit in some cases, but your feet are going to get wet. It's inevitable. If you're not walking through snow, you might find patches of slush on trail. You might find puddles on trail, and you can't always see those things because it's under the snow. But regardless, if you're walking through snow at all, especially with something like an Ultra or a Zero shoe that I now wear, your feet are going to get soaked. And so 2 things for your feet. One are sealskin socks. I put them right over my toe socks. So my shoes are going to get wet. They're wet right now, just being out on this day hike for like a half hour. My feet are quite wet, but, well, my shoes are quite wet. My feet are totally dry because of these sealskin socks. They're waterproof socks. They're really comfortable, and they also provide a little bit of insulation to keep your feet warm while you're hiking. Now, when you get to camp, what do you do with these wet shoes? Well, the sealskins actually keep you quite warm, which is really good. But when you get into your hammock or your tent, when you're winter camping, you throw on a pair of down booties. That's what I do anyway, and that keeps my feet nice and warm inside the foot box of my quilt. The second item that I wear on my feet in this kind of weather are just simple spikes, just really easy slip-on spikes. The trail is oftentimes icy at this time of year. These are just cheap, like $15 spikes. There's a handful of spikes on the bottom of each foot. They slide over the zeros real nicely. The issue I had with putting these on my Ultras is the toe box was angled quite a bit, and these are not designed for that kind of toe box. And so I was always stopping like every 15 minutes to do a minor adjustment on these spikes when I was hiking in my Ultras. So far on the Zeros, these things are staying right where they need to be. The toe box is still wide, but it's not quite as aggressive on the angle that the Ultras is. So wearing a pair of spikes is huge. All right, so now I am sitting down on this log. It's a little snowy, but I have my rain pants on. So while I can feel the coolness, I'm not getting wet, which is awesome. Okay, the fourth piece of gear that I take with me when I winter hike is a pair of Gore-Tex gloves. These are North Face, they're waterproof. These are really essential. When you're setting up and tearing down camp, keep these on as long as you can. There's some fine work, you know, like working with your cordage where you probably have to take your gloves off, but by and large, you set up your camp and tear down your camp wearing these gloves. If you have to process wood, wear the gloves. Even when you start off your hike in the morning and you're just kind of chilly and your hands are cold, these aren't really insulated, but they will absolutely help on warming your hands back up. And if it starts raining, when it's this kind of weather, when it's just around freezing, these come in handy to keep you warm and dry. More, keep you dry, therefore warm. Not much else to say about these, but they are lightweight. They fit in your pack really easily. Very, very handy, and also keep you safe and warm because it keeps you dry. Well, the last piece of gear that I want to talk about for winter hiking, especially winter hiking when it's right around that freezing, where it's wet and cold and snowy, it's the trifecta of maybe being miserable on trail. Well, you're gonna have your wool sweater, whether that's merino wool or alpaca or some other fabric. You're probably going to have a puffy coat. However, the wind is really picking up right now. That puffy coat does act as an okay windbreaker, but it's also going to get very snowy. We're supposed to get like 8 inches here today. That coat is probably gonna get wet, therefore not very effective to keep me warm. So a really nice thing to keep in your pack in the winter time is a raincoat. This is simply the Frog Togs, like the deluxe Frog Togs. And you put this on, it's a windbreaker for one, and two, you can put it over your puffy coat if it's really cold because it'll keep the wind off you even better and keep you dry. And when you're at camp, if you're sitting around the fire or you're setting things up and it's windy or cold, this is a great windbreaker. So it's a little redundant in some ways because you have another layer, another thing to take, but it will keep you much more comfortable because it'll keep you even warmer yet. And mostly it just keeps you dry, and that is really essential in cold weather backpacking or hiking. Okay, well, I'm gonna get these rain pants off, I'm gonna get my spikes back on, and I'm going to continue on my hike. I hope these 5 items were interesting to you. I hope these tips were helpful for you and that it resonates in some way, shape, or form. Until then, thanks for viewing. Make sure you subscribe and all of that stuff, like things and hit thumbs up and all that. I'll see you on the next video. God bless you all. Have a great rest of January. Talk to you later. Bye.